Yo, what is good, high performers and camp believers? Welcome to another episode of the Can't Believe I Made It podcast. I'm your podcast host, high performance mentor, and dietitian, Desi Abeda. My gosh, before we get into our Mentorship Monday episode, I just want to update you on a couple life things. So we took, I think, 2 weeks off of the pod because I had this thing that was coming across my table a lot. Like the last three Mentorship Mondays, we really tried to dedicate time to discussing limiting beliefs. And the outpouring that I got with questions and I got a bunch of emojis, whether it's fire or the claps or whatever that was. I Conversation was being had around some of the things that we say to ourselves and our inner critic. And so over the past 2 weeks, I had this idea where I was like, you know what? A lot more people are needing help with this. And as your host and as someone who loves the shit out of you and really believes in your progress, I was like, I think my listeners, I think the people that I'm trying to talk to need more. And so I decided to take some time off the pod and really dive myself into a free online course for you all. Well, that course just dropped this past Friday. So Breaking Barriers is currently out right now. And for me, it's a 3-day event for those of you who are, present or future entrepreneurs, creatives, people who are really just looking to get out of their rut, get out of being stuck and trying to navigate habits and rituals that really speak to them. And so with this 3-day event, it's teaching you at the ground level and a lot more of what we dove into in our last three Mentorship Monday episodes, but it's teaching you how to dive into and get really, really vulnerable with that inner self critic, and then providing you with opportunities to create systems to get yourself out so that you can create new identity based habits and identity based statements so that you can actually start to develop mantras that are working for you. Because I think that we can all agree we can be real assholes to ourselves. So, with this 3-day course, it's meant to offer you an opportunity to get incredibly real, incredibly vulnerable with some of the things that you tell yourself. And then from there, developing systems to get yourself out so that you can take that next big step in confidence. And so like I said, I wanted to take some time off because I was seeing a need for it. So I dove into that. So there we go with Breaking Barriers. It's out right now. So you'll be able to access this free online course, and you can access that in the show notes or wherever you see this, on IG, Instagram. Well, IG and Instagram are the same thing. On IG, TikTok, Twitter, wherever I'm throwing myself out there, and you kind of know me by now. I'm trying to show up everywhere because I just want to make sure that we're speaking to the right people, and something must be working. Because another thing that I found out this last week is, the Can't Believe I Made It pod is now spanning across 21 different countries. So shout out to you all who are listening abroad, and obviously all of our United States folks. Like I'm so thankful for you. And even just with this 3-day course, I wanted to help you with some of the things that I needed the most help with when I started. And so I'm really trying to be that person that I needed when I first started my creative endeavors. And I, at the time, I didn't really know that it wasn't about the following. It was more about, like, how am I going to fill my cup up so that I can fill up the cup of others? And then from there, it was about getting really purposeful and taking radical responsibility behind my habits and my rituals. And so there's just so much to celebrate right now with the Can't Believe pod. And as a pod family, again, I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate you all so much. So again, Breaking Barriers is out. You can find the link in the show notes. It's a free online course for yourself to help you step into confidence with that next step, or to do that next thing that you've been really afraid to do, because you've heard me say it before. You have so much damn untapped potential. And I want to make sure that you know that, because I know that, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people in your life know that as well. All right. So all that being said, let's dive into Mentorship Monday, episode 87. A little background on this. I just got back from Sedona, and oh my gosh, we hiked so much. This even yesterday too. I'm recording this on Sunday, and obviously this is going to be dropping on Monday, the 28th, last day of February. We did a hike yesterday in Sedona where it was like 1,200 feet elevation climb. Almost, I want to say almost 6 miles. It was a lot. And I found myself, and for my wife and I, we got married in Sedona. So it's always a place that we go back to each and every year. Our 5-year-old is a gangster on the trail. She hikes all the really hard hikes with us. And we actually had my mom come with me on one of the days. And I was thinking yesterday about these things that I try to teach my clients. and things that I try to do myself, because anything that I've instilled with my clients is things that I've either researched and tested out for myself, or things that I've read and then also tested out. Because for me, I want to make sure that the systems work, and what works for me may not work for them, but I try to make sure that I try to be like my own guinea pig in this way, where it's like, okay, I'm going to test out a system and see if it works. And so this is kind of that introduction to the travel threes that I talk to a lot with my clients. And so obviously, with things opening up, thankfully after the last 2 years, people starting to travel more, people starting to kind of get themselves out. I think one classic thing that happens for most people when they're trying to develop systems and rituals is that travel just in itself tends to kind of dismantle your routine. And a lot of people kind of come back into their routines really getting down on themselves and really having a hard time to regain some of the progress that they were making. And so I actually had two clients that were actually going to be going away for work, and it's the same thing. And I've been doing this for the past couple of years because I myself tested it out. And so I call these the travel threes for a reason, because we're focusing in on three habit areas. As a high performance mentor, one of the things that I try to make sure that anyone that comes into my program learns is our four pillars. So the first thing that we're looking at is sleep conditioning. So we're teaching them to sleep better, because sleep is going to be the foundation of anything that they do, right? Anything that they do. Because from there we can start to develop more energy, we can start to develop better hormone balance. There's just so much that comes, better mental clarity. There's just so much that comes from adequate sleep and quality sleep, that I want to make sure that people get that type of conditioning for their endeavors in their life, right? And so the second thing is obviously nutrition. Third thing is looking at their strength conditioning. And then the fourth is going to be tapping into their mindfulness and also their mental health. Because for me, I want to make sure that the people, and most people that are in my programs usually stick around for about a year to a year and a half, because I always tell them like, hey, find a way to devote a year to this, and you're never going to have to need coaching on this ever again, because these are the things that you're going to start to instill in yourself, to where you start to create a different environment. That environment starts to prime you for these things that are really going to help you. And so this is why I try to help them to understand those four pillars. And so with these travel threes, I try to make sure, and this is something that I did this last week. I mean, I'm obviously out of my routine, and I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. And if we look at those four pillars, there's about two in there that I like did incredibly well. I didn't have my home gym, right? I didn't have all the things that I strength train with, but I did get my activity in. I made sure. I mean, we were hiking each and every day, and surprisingly, I'm not really sore right now, but I think that has more to do with how active of a lifestyle that I live. And that's not to say like, hey, I'm better than you, but it's to say like, hey, this takes time. So small, simple steps is what we need to be thinking about. So my activity was on point. My sleep was not. I Here's the thing with vacation with me. I don't know how you all feel about this, and hopefully I'm not the only one that does this. Some people go on vacation, they're just like excited to sleep. Look, I get quality sleep all the time, but for some reason, and this actually happened during the holiday season this last time, when it happens, like I try to catch up on movies. I try to catch up on just like like I don't have to be like a high performing human when it comes to sleep during this time, because I just kind of just like want to have fun. But this kind of leads into some of those travel threes, and we'll kind of get there. But again, I didn't do this perfectly. And what I try to have people do is I try to have them focus in on three areas. And that's what I wanted to share with you today. And so some of you might be traveling, some of you might be doing things that are kind of taking you out of routine. Let me offer you an opportunity to kind of think about this in a different way, rather than crap, I'll get back to it on Monday, or I'll get back to it when I get back. Here are some ways to help you continue to make measurable change, so that you're still creating progress. All right. So that first one is focusing on activity. You might not be able to get in the gym every day, but if you can try to devote at least a couple days, let's say you're going on a 3 to 4 day trip, if you could focus in on 1 or 2 days where possibly you're going to an Orange Theory class, or you're trying to get into some sort of class or some sort of gym, just to move your body. And even if you're not able to do that, I try to help people to focus in on like, hey, what's one way that you can get to a point where you're trying to average during this trip, like anywhere from around 7 to 9,000 steps? Can you walk places instead of Ubering? Can you try to be more active? Can you go on hikes? Like I said, I didn't get to strength train. I got to play basketball because that's something that I try to do each and every day for my mental health. But we went on hikes, and so I definitely got those 8 to 10,000 steps. So for you, can you focus in on trying to get more around like 7 to 9,000 steps? And it's not even really about the step goal, but really about, hey, what are some ways in which I can continue to just move my body? All right, because that's the thing that's going to help you to continue to create progress. The second thing that we look at is nutrition. Hey, you're not going to eat perfectly, but I want you to get behind the idea that if you can add more volume into your meals, I try to help my clients understand this too. Hey, try to add a big ass salad at least once per day. Try to get things that are obviously balanced, but make the trip more about enjoyment. Make the trip more about the experience of trying new cuisines, of trying new things, and try to focus in on one time where you can get a big ass salad or add a little bit more fruit with one or two things. I mean, this in itself is going to help you not only with the volume, but also with the fiber, the hydration, and also helping you to remain a constant state of that comfortable fullness so that you're just not smashing food the whole time, because it is about enjoyment. I do want to encourage you to smash food, but also throwing in some tactics that are really going to help you in the long run. And the third thing, and this is where I think a lot of people miss out on because they feel like they need to be perfect. And a lot of you, as I'm talking to you as listeners, I can imagine that you struggle with your own version of perfectionism when it comes to this. But this is where I want to offer you the opportunity to think about this in a way where it's like, hey, what's more important to you? Crushing all of your goals or having fun and feeling connected? Because the two can happen together. And so this third one is connection. How can you be more present and how can you actually be there in the moment? A perfect example of that for me is on these hikes. I mean, for any of you who've ever been to Sedona, you know what the beauty looks like. But my opportunity for you, or my push for you, is to start thinking about like, hey, how can you feel more connected to your friends that you're visiting possibly? How can you feel more connected to the type of work that you're doing, the new environment, the new city? And this is where you get to challenge some of your limiting beliefs around like what you should be doing on a day-to-day basis when you are traveling. Okay. And so this is where we get to break out of that. So really trying to prioritize these travel threes is something that a lot of my clients have had so much success with, because when they get back in their routine, they're not necessarily off, but they made some small simple steps to help them continue that progress. Because I would rather you get out of your routine, get out of, your environment, especially for those of you who work from home. I feel you. It's just like at some point it's like, get me the hell out of here. But this is that opportunity where you get to focus in on small simple steps of these three areas, right? And it doesn't even have to be the activity. You can swap that for getting adequate sleep, right? Or you can swap that for a couple of opportunities to be present during a hike or to do some meditation. I think a perfect example of that too is like, it was really cold in Sedona. So one of the days it was like 20. And as an Arizona kid, that's cold. Okay. I don't want to hear it from all of you people who have an actual winter, but it's 20 outside. And I decided to do some breath work just to, play with my nervous system a little bit. But that's what I'm talking about there. So those things right there are ongoing things that you can continue to try to add into your life. And remember, when you're trying to be high performing in a lot of different areas, this doesn't mean that you have to be perfect, but it does mean that you have to be very systemic about your habits, and you have to devote time and priority to the things that you know that are going to fulfill you. Because at the end of the day, that's what true health and happiness looks like. It's fulfillment. All right. So I love y'all. I'm glad to be back. Looking forward to our next pod on Friday. And, we're back on schedule. So 88 is coming this next Friday. We are rapidly going to episode 100. I'm super pumped for it. We got people listening in 21 different countries. I'm a happy person right now. Really, really grateful. So I love you all. Thank you so much for allowing me to do what I love. And, thank you for listening to a kid from Tucson, Arizona. All right. All right. Love y'all. Peace.